Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Anecdotal Economist, and today I want to talk a little bit about strategizing your gold and silver purchases. Stick with me. I got in a nice big gold order. Okay, that didn't come out the way I thought it would. That's where it comes from.
Here, pick it up, feel it, tell me what you think.
No other mint has this issue.
The triangle has replaced the British pound.
Like little trading cards.
That's a naughty word. We never rob. We just sort of borrow a bit from those who can afford it.
All right, well, if you're watching this channel, you're probably very obsessed with gold and silver. And some people out there seem to think that's a bad thing. Like, you shouldn't go all out in gold and silver, and you shouldn't overdo it, right? You gotta diversify. You should be buying stocks and all these different things. And I know for a fact that a lot of people don't do that. They do just go all in on gold and silver. During the silver squeeze, a lot of people got hurt because they went all out on silver. And that is unfortunate. But to quote Warren Buffett, it makes sense to invest in what you know. Invest in yourself. Invest in what you understand. And I've been thinking about this lately, about how I am fairly diversified. I'm actually targeting trying to have 12 different assets. That's my goal. 12 different eggs. Or 12 different baskets, I suppose you could say. And silver and gold are one of those assets. But silver and gold, I would say, take up the majority of my time. That's what I spend a lot of my time on. Some of my other assets, one of them you could think of is housing, right? Not all of them have to be stocks. And I think of Warren Buffett's word of like, invest in what you know. And you see people that are just absolutely obsessing over silver and gold, and a lot of people think that's weird. But I would argue, if you do that, oh, these milk spots are atrocious. It kind of rubbed off. If you were to take Warren Buffett's advice, then you're doing the right thing by going all out on gold and silver. And the only thing I could really say is that knowledge is power. The more you know, the more in depth you understand the market, the better off you are. But what I would like to do is put out a challenge. Have you ever been wrong? Have you ever made a purchase at the wrong time? The price didn't do what you expected? And then you might say something like, well, the market is just rigged. What I would suggest to you is that means you don't know enough. And I understand a lot of us are collecting, but there's also a market for collecting, right? You need to know what you're doing when you're collecting. If you buy a collectible and it goes down in value, you need to take that and say, hey, look, I made a mistake. I need to figure out what I did wrong and how I can do it better. Learn more, keep adding more knowledge, and eventually you'll be able to time your purchase better. Now, a very common methodology that a lot of people talk about is dollar cost averaging into the prices of gold and silver. And I do that to an extent, but as I've talked about before on this channel, right now, typically I like to buy 1 ounce coins. Got a lot of 1 ounce coins. As you can see here, I like to buy full tubes of silver, and I like to buy 1 silver ounce a week. And the reason I buy 1 ounce of silver a week is because for me, that's essentially just money I would have wasted on something else. And it keeps my head in the game. It makes it so I go to the bullion shop, I check out the online websites, I see what prices are doing, it keeps me in the game. That's why I buy 1 ounce of silver a week. I also like to buy probably about 4 ounces of gold a year, but that depends on my financial situation. It depends on what the market's doing. And I like to buy a couple of tubes of silver a year, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, depending on what I'm going for. And so as I'm doing that, one of the things that comes up is this whole idea of dollar cost averaging. So you could call it dollar cost averaging, what I just described. I'm buying sort of a consistent amount slowly because I believe over the long term that my dollar cost will average out for where I come ahead. That has been true so far, but that doesn't mean we can't do better. Now I'm just going to show a graph just for a second here, and I'll show you one basic example of something that I like to do. I have a rule which says I do not buy if it's trending above the 30-day moving average. Now I have many different rules that I use, but I'm just letting you in on this one I found a lot of success with. Because if I dollar cost average, see this line here? Whenever this little yellow line in the background, if gold is above that line, I don't buy it. If it's below that line, I may buy it, but then I'll test my other rules. I have many different rules I use, like I said. And this stops me from buying at the absolute top. I've never bought at the absolute top because I use this rule, among many others. This is what we call a technical, a very basic technical. So dollar cost averaging is my strategy, but this allows me to shift what I'm doing. I may, instead of buying a 1 ounce eagle, I may buy something a little smaller, which we're going to show some of those off at another time. I make those decisions based off of what's going on. And so I change my strategy. I've done that because I've learned over the years. I didn't always time these perfectly, but I've gotten better and better and better because I have been hyper obsessed on gold and silver and markets. And so what I guess I'm suggesting is hopefully you're with me and you're going to work to try to improve your stacking strategy as well. That's not to say we get it right every time, and everybody's situation is different. When I had very little gold and silver, I felt like I had to rush into it. And many of you watching probably have that same feeling where it's like, man, I just don't have enough. You know, you see people with their channels, and don't think I've ever showed all of my metals on the channel at once. I don't know that I ever will. I like the mystery of it. You have that sort of feeling like it's urgent. And if you have that feeling, you don't want to be driven by fear, but I agree. If you have no gold or silver, you should go get some right away. But once you have a little bit of a stockpile built up, it changes things. It allows you to be more free, more flexible. You can say, hey, look, the price is going up. That's great. I'm making money. I don't feel like I have to rush in and buy the top, right? And that's why I am currently slowing down my purchases, because I would like there to be a pullback. It changes your attitude from fear of missing out to fear that the price will go up. It's funny because those are the same thing, but it's the way you're looking at it. You're looking at it from the perspective of, if the price keeps going up, I won't be able to buy more, but I will make money, versus if the price keeps going up, I'll never get any. See, it's just a different mindset. Is what I'm saying tracking? Are you guys following me? The more time you spend digging into this, the wiser you become, the better at it you get. It's like a game. And I find that to be fun, which is why I eventually branched out into collectibles. I still stack. I stack all the time. But I like to change things up. You know, you pay a couple extra dollars an ounce, and it's like you got a chance that it might be worth double or triple that someday. You never know. To that end, I'm going to review this coin. I'm going to end the serious part of the video and talk about this Robinhood coin. Now, some of you may have seen this before, but I thought it would be worth doing an update because they have a full series of the King Arthur collection and the Robinhood collection, and this is in their Royal Mint Myths and Legends. This is from the Royal Mint, of course. And so I have sort of been collecting this, not officially, but I've just sort of accidentally accumulated most of these, and I'm going to show them on the channel over time. This is my favorite one. It's funny, I laid them all out and I asked my son to pick his favorite, and he picked Robinhood. So kids love them. I don't know, something about it. Doesn't change when you get older. But you know, I have to say I'm very disappointed with this coin. As I'm doing this review, the milk spotting is atrocious, and this is sort of a premium coin. It's not a proof. They have proofs. They have 10-ounce coins, and I've got some of those as well. But the fact that there's milk spotting on this coin just disappoints me, especially when you compare it to Perth. Actually, not Perth, but the Royal Canadian Mint. Even their lowest quality coins don't have milk spotting, and that just disappoints me. You know, when you look at Perth Mint, they've figured it out. The kangaroos do have milk spotting, typically, because they're their sort of cheapo option. It's just a disappointment, and you guys can see what I'm talking about. The milk spotting is just everywhere. I could, wash it off. I've been told it'll come back. Probably at some point I will wash it off because it bothers me, and I'm not really worried about the collectability. But other than that, this is a really nice coin. And one thing that I've said about the Britannia, and this just falls right in line with a British collectible coin, is it does seem a little busy. But I would actually argue this special coin is less busy than the Britannia. I like it better than the Britannia. You can see in the background, it's very difficult to see, but there's this sort of spotted texture in the background, and that is typical of all of the coins in this series. I don't know why they went with it. It's slightly different than the Britannia, and it's thematic. I'm actually going to grab the magnifying glass and see if that helps at all. Very hard to see. It's actually, I don't know if that's really working. Yeah, it's just so small. You really can't pick it up on a camera. It's even hard to see with your eye. On the 10-ounce coin, when I bring that out, it'll become more obvious. But I do like this coin. He's got the longbow. He's in the tree. It's stereotypical Robin Hood. And I've mentioned this on the channel before. It's not about stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, because Robin Hood stole from the government. The rich was the government. And that is an important lesson of this story that I believe has been unfortunately forgotten by the British people. And I think even most Americans at this point don't remember that moral of that particular story. Queen, as usual, looks as good as she can. She's got a little scratch on here. That's not from me. That just came right from whoever I purchased. I don't even know where I got it from. That is unfortunate. You know, when you get a coin that's scratched like that, you know, kind of sad. Is what it is. These aren't hyper rare. I don't even think they limited the mintage on these. Only the proofs are limited. So it is what it is. Now, they did the same sort of bedazzling on the back that they do for the Britannia. So nothing special there. And as I've said, I think it looks a little busy, especially on their gold coins. Silver, it's not as bad. You know, I don't mind it. All in all, I like the coin. You know what I think I'm actually going to do is before the next video, I'm going to try to clean that milk spotting off. But the question is it going to take out one of the coins? And I've got to start replacing some of these. We're going to leave Sonic out for one more video, but we're going to go ahead and replace the Phoenix. And, you know, do I like the Phoenix better than this Robin Hood coin? Not in terms of the quality. The Phoenix is definitely a nicer coin. And I didn't show this when I reviewed it, but this has a non-reeded edge, which is my absolute favorite. Philharmonics have that as well, and I think it just looks so much better than a reeded edge. The downside is if you touch it with your bare hands, you can see it immediately. But I really like the Phoenix. We're gonna put Mr. Robin Hood here. He's gonna stay out for a little while. We're gonna clean that up. Hopefully it'll look better. So maybe that's something I could talk about in the next video, is see if you guys notice if the milk spotting is gone. And so, yep, Phoenix is gone. Robin Hood is in. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you watching the review. If you want to support me and throw up a subscribe and a like, I always appreciate it. If you want to leave a comment, of course, I always appreciate those as well. If you don't, and you just want to support the channel, today's code word will be milk. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. That's my 2 ounces worth. Remember, I'm pulling for you, and we're all in this together.
Kilogram, you're the dragon, you're the rabbit.
Okay, let's look at the money side now. Watch as I pull this bad boy out of here. Absolutely stunning once you get it out of the case. Feeling the weight of this in my hand. Oh, that's such a good feeling.
I never had enough gold.